Hello, my name's Colin Winberg, and I'll be presenting the Wealth Generators Overview for you today. I've been in business for over 30 years, and during that time I've had many opportunities cross my desk, and I can honestly say that very few are good. This would be one of the best I've ever seen. And the reason why is because this offers to the average person what they've never been able to get hold of before. The programs that Wealth Generators offer would normally only be available to people that have the tag of an accredited investor. Now, an accredited investor would need to have a net worth of more than $1 million and have an income of over $300,000 a year, which obviously rules most people out. Now, due to the founders of Wealth Generators bringing this to the average person, hence their motto being from Wall Street to Main Street. So what I'd suggest you do that as I go through this, grab a pen and paper and take some notes, because this is going to be a rare opportunity and most people don't get a chance like this. And if they do, only one or two of them in a lifetime. Before I do go through this, I did want to share something that a friend shared with me just recently. And I was amazed. Now, these figures I'm going to be running through are for the Australian market. But what I would suggest, if you've got a pen and paper handy, write down the figures that relate to yourself. Okay, because the figures I put up here really don't matter because everyone's figures are going to be different. But I think that the formula works, and I think at the end of it, you might be surprised at what actually comes up. And what this person said to me, he was a good friend, he said, have you ever thought about what the annual income is you need to live a comfortable retirement? And I thought, no, I haven't. Really, that can be how long's a piece of string. So what I've done, I've taken the average Australian income of $80,000. Because if you're making that while you're working, there's probably a good chance you want to live on that and don't want to go less than that because you probably want to travel, take up some hobbies, do whatever. I think average Australian income at the moment is about 81,900. So just adjust it to whatever country you're in. And as I said, the formula will work for that. Now, to make $80,000 a year, you're going to need a nest egg of around 1.6 million making 5% return. So that's going to equate to a yearly income of 80,000. So when you take a look at that, how are you doing now? What's your net worth currently? Well, to determine your net worth, very simple formula of assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. So let's take a look at the average person's assets when they come to retirement age. The average housing around Australia is between $500,000 to $1 million depending on where you live. So if we look at the average house being around the $700,000 mark, so let's say if you've got a house, you've got an investment property, you've got some superannuation. In the US, that's a 401k. In the UK, that's a pension. Most people are going to have some shares, some cash. So let's say around 1,900,000 for this person here. As I said, adjust yours accordingly. Now we need to take away the liabilities. Now everyone's going to have liabilities, and here we've just put up maybe you got a 100,000 left on your house, 5% on your car, etc., etc. So that'll give you a total of 300,000. Minus your liabilities gives you your net worth of 1,600,000. So that's pretty much ideal if you want to have an $80,000 income and you're making 5% per annum back on your investment. The problem we have, though, is your nest egg requires a 1.6 million of income producing assets. Okay, now you had a current net worth, but we need to take out assets that aren't income producing. So if we take a look at some of these here, obviously your house isn't income producing. A lot of people think that by the time they get to own their house, which that is a great achievement, over its period of time, they've paid off their house, they own it. But realistically, that brings you to the bottom of the ladder because now you can start earning on income producing assets. So your house is an asset, but it doesn't make you any money. You can't go down to your letterbox, put in a PIN code and take out $2,000 every time you want to. Obviously, car and furniture, they're certainly not income producing. As a matter of fact, the car's a depreciating asset. The moment you drive it off the lot, you've probably lost 20 to 30%, and your furniture, you've probably lost 50% the moment you get it delivered. So if we take away these non-income producing assets from what we had of 830,000, so we had a net worth of 1,600,000, take away the non-income producing assets, leaves you about 770,000, less than half of what you're actually after. So if you actually had that and you were getting a 5% return and you were used to living on $80,000 a year, now you're going to be living on $38,000 a year, half of what you actually were used to living on. Doesn't make life much fun. So as we said, if you needed 1,600,000, it gives you a shortfall of 830,000. That's a huge shortfall to have when it comes to retirement age. Now, you guys would have all done your own figures, and some of you are going to be okay, some of you aren't. But even people I've spoken to out there, the ones who are doing okay and they've retired financially okay, what they're really worried about is that people are living far longer these days. And they're getting very nervous about that because they don't know what their health's going to be for all those years. And even though they've got quite a bit of money put away in their retirement fund, they're worried that if one health problem could wipe out a lot of that. So that's why people really need to take a look at where they're at. Now, I heard some figures yesterday from a financial planner. He said that 81% of Australians spend what they earn. A further 10% spend more than what they earn. That's 91% of Australians who are either broke or beyond broke they're owing. That is amazing figures. So I just thought that was pretty powerful when I first saw it. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys. The other thing I want to share is Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. For those of you who don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, he's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He sold tens of millions of books. He's a world's leading authority in investing. And he talks about the 4 ways to produce an income and what his theory is on this. He says the first one's employee. Most people fit into this category. He said the problem with being an employee is you've got no leverage and the amount of active work determines your income. Okay, so you can only work 40, 60, 80, 100 hours a week and you only get paid per hour. So you've absolutely no leverage when it comes to that. He talks about the next area being the self-employed. He said primarily they pretty much own a job, and this can be anything from accountant to doctor to lawyer to tradesman or anyone running their own small business. The amount of active work determines your income. So once again, you're trading time for money when it comes to this. He suggests moving from the left-hand side of the quadrant to the right. And the first part of that is to be a business owner. You own the system and your income, this is where the key is, your income does not depend on your active work. Now, what's the difference between a business owner and a self-employed? He says most self-employed people, if they didn't work for 90 days, they'd be broke or in a lot of trouble. A business owner can take off and their system's still making money. But he said the ideal place to be is the bottom right-hand side, and that's an investor. Because no longer does your income depend on your active work. Your money works for you. So what I'm going to show you today is a great way to become 1, a business owner, and 2, an investor. So you're going to have 1 of 3 decisions at the end. Do you want to be a business owner? Do you want to be an investor? Or like most people choose, they want to be both. So let me show you how to do that. Wealth generators, helping people put their money to work so they're not always working for their money. That sounds like a very simple quote, but it's also very, very powerful. Very few people in the world have got to a stage where they're putting their money to work so they're not always working for their money. As a matter of fact, if you're not putting your money to work, you will work for your money until the day you die. That's where most people are sitting today. My father got in business for himself in his early 40s, I guess, early to mid 40s, retired at 55, so did pretty well. And one of the things he taught me from an early stage was that he said people will spend 40, 60, 80 hours a week working to make their money, but they spend very little time, if anything, making their money work for them. And that's something that's always sat back with me. If you're not making your money work for you, you're going to be having, I don't care how much money you're making, if you're not making your money work for you, there's going to come a time when you're going to be in trouble. So this is what wealth generators do. The 4 founders of wealth generators, Ryan Smith, Chad Miller, Annette Rayner, and Mario Romano, 3 of them had stock brokerage Wall Street experience, and Annette had a background in IT and investor educator training. Now, what their whole goal was to bring Wall Street to Main Street, bringing the returns from the big boys. So like the billion-dollar hedge funds, for example. Now, I've been in business since I was 20. I turned 50 the other week. And I thought I knew a little bit about money and I thought I knew about business. I had no idea that the billion-dollar hedge funds were making 50 to 60% per annum. And if you had told me that, I would have said, there's probably something a little bit wrong with that, or, maybe that's illegal or something like that, because I didn't realize those returns were possible. But see, to get into something like that, you need to have a lot of money. As a matter of fact, to be an accredited investor, you need to be worth at least $1 million and have an income of $300,000 a year. And if you're not an accredited investor, you don't get the opportunity to join most of these sort of investments that are going to make those sort of returns to you. As a matter of fact, it's only technology that's allowed this sort of thing to even happen. So what these guys here are doing, they're bringing those 50, 60% per annum returns down to the average person, which is a phenomenal for anyone who wants to take advantage of it. They have three main areas of their business: find, grow, and keep. If you speak to them, they'll tell you that their business is all about financial fitness. So find, manage your expenses; grow, put your money to work; and keep, preserve, and protect. Find money you didn't know you have. Ross Jardine's one of America's leading money experts. He's also Wealth Generator's leading money expert. And what he talks about here is, like, someone explained it to me once: if you've got a bucket where all your finances go, some people have a hole in their bucket. Well, by learning money basics, budgeting basics, and debt payoff plan, it fixes that hole in your bucket, and then allows your bucket to fill up. So this is what Ross does. He teaches us how to do that. There's also some software by the name of the Deductor. What this does is it simplifies personal finances by seeing all accounts in one place. What it does, it helps you to manage and measure your finances. Okay, because what you can't measure, you can't manage. So this software helps you to do that. This has only recently become involved with Wealth Generators over the last couple of months, but before it did, it already had 600,000 subscribers worldwide. It's a leading piece of financial software. Grow. Well, this is the part where most people are interested in, and most people join their business because of the grow section. But the find and keep are just as important. But we understand that this is where people are at. So Wealth Generators is successful market experts with over 40 years of trading experience. Now, this last line is what I really like. They do the research, they manage the strategies, and they deliver simple, concise alerts via email and push notifications to your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop. Well, that's what they used to do. What they found, though, was that life got in the way of people. So what do I mean by that? Well, they'd send out an alert and they'd say buy something or sell something, and people wouldn't buy it for 24, 48, 72 hours. By the time they did that, it was too late. And the same with sell. They say sell now, but people 24, 48 hours later are selling, and it didn't work too well, only because people had jobs and they were sleeping and everything else they were going to do. So what they did was they've made the majority of their products automated, and the last one will be automated within the next month or two on the stocks and equities. Their Forex programs are automated. For those of you who don't know what Forex is, it's a foreign exchange market. It is the largest trading market in the world. It does just short of $5.5 trillion a day. It runs 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. Now, the product I really want to talk to you about here is the FX Multiplier 2.0. Before, when I was talking about technology, there is no doubt that without technology, we wouldn't have access to this program. And even with technology, normally we wouldn't have access. Normally, to get access to something like this, you'd need to invest millions of dollars, and they charge you 2% of your equity on the way in and 20+% of your profit. And the reason why they can do that is because those of you who know anything about the Forex market, it's very volatile, it's up, down, and you can make some great wins and take some good losses with that. But the FX Multiplier hasn't had a losing day's trade in over 2 years. Okay, that is a phenomenal product. Now, sometimes it only makes a couple of cents a day, but every day it's closed in profit, which is an unbelievable program. Let's take a look at some of the returns here. The accelerator since May last year has averaged 4%. The last couple of months it's been up around 7%, but on an average it's 4%. The multiplier is very similar, where it's averaged 4%. Last couple of months have been a lot better. But if you do your figures on 3 to 4%, I think you're pretty safe. Now, these are figures per month, not per year. So these are monthly returns. And we take a look at the equities program, that's averaged just over 5% for the last trailing 12 months. As a matter of fact, if you're going to put $10,000 in the equities program 4 years ago, in November last year, that $10,000 would have turned into $89,939. So it'd be over $90,000 today. Now, what these red boxes are for, they indicate when the market's gone down or sideways. So you see in the last 4 years, there's 4 lots of those. And that's just to show you that wealth is built over time. It's not built overnight. And sometimes you can have down periods. It happens in investing where the market drops, something changes, things like Brexit happen, and the market's very volatile. But wealth is built over time, not overnight. So with this, you can take your money out anytime you want, but remember that compounding works over time. So let me show you a few examples of compounding. Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And I love this next part. He said, he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And if you think you're not paying compounding interest, go take a look at your home loan. If you've taken 20 or 30 years to pay that off, the amount of compounding interest you would have paid would be phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But let's take a look what would happen if you got 4% per month and you put $5,000 in. What I'm going to show you are 1, 3, 5, and 7-year returns. Just a one-off investment of $5,000 making 4% per month. In 7 years, you'd have just short of $135,000. Now, if you added $200 a month to that, so that's just $50 a week you added, $5,000 down, $50 a week, look what it does to the figures. It almost doubles them. And of course, if you put $10,000 in as a one-off, just short of $270,000 after 7 years. Most people would love to have that sort of return from an investment like that. But let's just say we go up just a little bit and go to 6% per month. On $5,000, after year 7, you'd have just short of $670,000. That extra $200 a month or $50 a week would give you $1.1 million at 6% per month compounding interest. And of course, your $10,000, a one-off payment of $10,000 after 7 years to give you $1.3 million. And if that doesn't excite you, if you left that in for 10 years, after the 10-year mark, that $10,000 would be just short of $10 million. And that's why Albert Einstein said it's the 8th wonder of the world. So that just shows you a little bit what you can do with compounding interest, providing you can get those sort of returns, 4% a month or 6% a month. The next section is the keep. And this is pretty important because it's not what you make, but what you keep that counts. So with the deductor, you can see there on the app that, for example, with your mileage, as long as you put your GPS locator on your phone, it'll track your mileage, log it all for you. If you're out to a restaurant, lunch, tea, anything else, you take a picture of the receipt and it'll catalog it all for you. Most of the problems with tax time and expenses is trying to work out what was what. If you do it as you go with something like this, it makes a huge difference to your tax return. And when it comes to business taxes, procrastination and forgetfulness can be very expensive. So the deductor takes the human nature out of the equation. So it helps you make it. Now, some people are very organized like that. Other people aren't. The ones who aren't, this is a great tool. The ones who are organized, this is a great tool to keep you organized. So it works either way. And that's why they've got over 600,000 subscribers to it. But this is included as part of your monthly subscription with Wealth Generators. So how does Wealth Generators expand their marketplace? Well, they do it by the best method there is, and that's word of mouth. These days, if you're trying to advertise on telly, people are watching Netflix. If you're trying to advertise on newspapers or magazines, people are on the internet. It's really hard to get bang for your buck advertising anywhere else. Yet, if you get customers who are happy with what they've got from you and they tell other people, that's the best advertising you can possibly get. And let's face it, we've all done that before. We've all gone to a restaurant and told others about it. We've gone to see a film that we liked and we've told others about it. We've all gone and used a tradesman or some sort of service that we like and we've told others. There is no better method out there for advertising than word of mouth. So what Wealth Generators decided to do was put together an affiliate program so that they can reward those people who tell other people about it. Similar to the way YouTube, Google, all of those programs have affiliates based to them. If you introduce 3 people into this who all take a subscription, then your subscription's covered. So for example, if you're on the top rate here of $200 a month and you introduce 3 people, your $200 covered. Pretty good. Now, let's face it, if you're getting 4, 5, 6% a month, let's just stick 4. Let's say you're only getting 4% a month. Surely you tell some of your friends and family about that because it's such a great deal. And then you get rewarded for it at the same time. They also have a program here for the people who want to turn this into a business. And don't worry about all the figures. The ones you really want to concentrate on, these bottom ones. As you see here, that'll range from $500 a month up to $350,000 a month. I mean, we're starting to talk just telephone numbers there, okay? But surely somewhere between the bottom and the top, there's an area that you're going to relate to and say, yep, that's where I'd really like to be. For most people, this first one's a good one, $500. If you introduce 3 people who introduce 3, you're going to make $500. Now, all these figures are in US dollars because that's what everything you pay in US dollars, you get paid in US dollars. Okay, so everything's in US dollars. For those in the US, you just call them dollars. In Australia, we think that's good because we get an extra 25%. UK, you get a little bit less than because of the pound but it is. US dollars are global currency, and because this business runs throughout the globe, that's why they do that. The next sweet spot is this one here, 4,500. In Australia, that would equate to about 5.5, 5.7, somewhere like that. Now, for most people, they're going to be getting very close, if not to actually replacing their yearly income. So for most people, that's a really good spot to hit. But of course, you can go a lot further than that, just depending on what you want to do and how far you want to take the business side of things. On top of that, they also give luxury bonuses, everything from an iPad or an iWatch up to a shopping spree, MacBooks. These are on top of the income as well. At 1 million points, they give you a luxury car of your choice to the value of 80,000 US dollars. Okay, that's not a lease. That's actually the car, or 80,000 US that you can put towards whatever car you want from there. So what does it cost to get involved? These are the first packs. If you want to buy them individually, these are where they're at. There's also, if you want to be a business builder, there's a $30 a year business builder, what they call a preferred member. So just add $30 to these prices here, and these are the packs you can get. But what we find most people take is this one, the all-in pack. So it's $229, $230 plus your $30 preferred member, so $260. Okay, it's going to be for your first month, and then each month will be $200 after that. What that does, it gives you access to all the products, the accelerator, the equities, the simplifier, multiplier, and the QG pack, which does all the teaching and training so you can learn as little or as much as you want about the trading. Now, let me show you how easy it is to make that money back. Let's say you introduce 3. If you do that in 14 days from when you sign up, Wealth Generators will give you a $250 bonus. They pay it to you in your second month and they put it into your trading account. That's as long as your 3 people still have a subscription going in their second month. So not only do you make $250, but your subscription is guaranteed as well. If those 3 go and find 3, which we find most people do, you've now achieved the $500 club. So you're making $500 plus your $250, plus for every person you introduce who buys an all-in pack, you'll get another $40 bonus. So they give you another $120. If you do that in 1 month, your first month return, you make $870. So it's cost you $260 to get in, $870 return. That's a great return on any business investment. I mean, businesses I've done over the years, I think the lowest I got involved with was about 50 to 60,000. The most was about 500,000, and it normally takes you a long time to make that money back. The fact that with this business, you got such an opportunity to make some good money so quickly, I find that great. Warren Buffett, the world's greatest investor, says the most important investment you can make is in yourself. So what I do is ask you the question right now is, when was the last time you invested in yourself? And that's if you've ever invested in yourself. A lot of people, the answer is never. But the most important investment you can make is into yourself. And this business, great chance of doing that. About this stage, a lot of people say to me, if this is real, this looks good. And I have no problems with people being skeptical. I think in today's world, you've got to be skeptical. As a matter of fact, as I said at the start, if you had told me people could make 50 or 60% returns, I would have been staggered and not believed it. And I thought I knew a fair bit about the financial markets. So let me explain to you why this is real. If you do your due diligence on the company, you'll have no problems. But let me show you some reasons why I believe this is real. They've got a 4-year track record, and they're totally transparent on all trades, the positive and the negative trades. Not every trade wins. Some of them they lose. The goal is obviously to have more winners than you do losers. And so there's total transparency. Your money sits with the broker. It doesn't sit with wealth generators. Depending on where your location in the world, that'll depend on which broker you use, because not all brokers will do a global client base. Okay. As a matter of fact, when they were just doing the push out alerts out to people, you could use any broker you want. It didn't matter. But when they went automated, they can't do that to any broker in the world. Obviously, they've got to have their APIs and everything else working with it, so they could only use certain ones. The only money that wealth generators makes is from subscriptions. So it lives or dies by the quality of the product it provides. I think that's really important that you understand that money doesn't sit with wealth generators, because someone said to me, well, are they just paying such good returns out of the new money that's coming in? No, they don't touch or see any of your money that goes to the broker. That's between you and the broker. All they do is provide the medium in between to make that work. Wealth generators business is totally compliant. It's Better Business Bureau A+ rated, and it's Dun & Bradstreet rated as well. And it says totally compliant in the US market. Now, depending on where you are, I don't know whether it's registered in your country or not, they wait till they get 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers in a certain area before they make it fully compliant for that country. They've got to. At the moment, they're paying bonuses in over 50 different countries. So if they were trying to make it compliant in every country and go through all the protocol, it has to be an economic decision there. So they wait till they get 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers, then they'll come into that country and meet all the compliance. But I tell you now, the USA is one of the hardest markets to be compliant in. Their FTC, their Fair Trades Commission, they're brutal, absolutely brutal. And with a 4-year track record, if this wasn't compliant, they would have been shut down a long time ago. Last thing is they've got an amazing growth rate, over 100,000 subscribers and rapidly expanding globally. Okay, so the business has grown very quickly. As a matter of fact, if you're familiar with S-curves, I believe we're at the bottom of the S-curve about to really explode. There's a lot of international markets taking a look at this. Obviously, it started in the US market, but it's really expanding rapidly. And that's because the success rate they're having. And let's face it, you go to a bank, depending on what country you're in. If you're in the US or the UK, you're probably getting a 0.01% return. If you've got a heap of money sitting in the bank in Australia, you might be getting a 2, maybe 2.5%, but that's per annum, not per month. And when you see these monthly returns, that's why people are so excited about the product. So when we take a look at this, I guess we've got the right system, the right products, and the right opportunity. Make becoming a wealth generator distributor the right option for anyone who's serious about investing in themselves and their future. So I guess, as I said earlier on, that really most people have one of 3 choices now. And what I suggest is go back to the person who invited you along and tell them exactly what you're thinking. Are you interested in the business side? Are you interested in the investment side? Are you interested in both? For those of you who want some more information, go to this site here, moreaboutwg.com, and that's going to give you some more information there. Annette Rayner, one of the owners, she does a video, Fact versus Fiction, and that's a really good video to watch, because on the internet, you could probably do a search on Mother Teresa and find something negative out there. There's a couple of companies out there, I'm not going to name them, who tried to do what wealth generators did, and they weren't successful. And some of those have put some negative stuff up, and that will actually give you the fact versus fiction, which is really good about that. But do your due diligence, and you're going to find out that the company stands up anything you're going to want to put to it. So where do you go to from here? Well, as I mentioned before, I'd suggest you go to moreaboutwg.com, as well as getting back together with the person who invited you along today, so that they can answer the questions that you have, so you feel comfortable about the wealth generator's business. Then, once you are comfortable, get back to the person who invited you along. They'll help you get started, and they'll help you to get your business up and running, whether it's on the investment side, the business side, or both of those. For those of you who don't think it's for yourself, let me ask you this question. What do you have in your hands today that when it comes to retirement is going to get you to where you want to be, so that you're not struggling at the retirement age, wondering how you're going to survive for the rest of your life financially? because there's a good chance the jobs aren't going to do it. There's a good chance the government's not going to do it. And if you want to leave that in their hands, that's up to you. But I'd strongly suggest that now you've got a vehicle that can take you to where you want to go. Don't leave it in someone else's hands, leave it in yours. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this today, and I wish you all the best for your financial future.